Hey guys, I'm back, and this upload that I'm gonna do right now is gonna be different from what I usually do. This one's gonna be about basic defense team setups. Now, it's just gonna be a basic, just a basic setup. It's mainly geared towards new guys, the new people that are trying, starting off in the game, or people that have just simple questions on how they should set up their defense team. And the only reason why I'm you know doing this is from time to time I get asked from my faction mates. They ask me, for advice how to set up their teams and what which cards I think they should choose to put on their defense team. Now, I'll be honest, it's very difficult to give anybody advice. Everybody has different types of cards. Not everybody has the same type of traits. It's it's hard to give advice or to tell someone how to set up their team, but it's easy to give someone just, I guess, a basic team setup, how this game, the way this game flows, and how you can benefit from putting the correct traits on your teams. So I'm gonna go through that in this video, but before we get started with that, we're gonna talk about this game. This game is a card-based game, just like games like Magic, Pokemon, Yu-Gi-Oh. It's rock paper scissors. Yellow weak to green, greens weak to red, reds weak to blue. These traits is how this game flows. And not only that, there's one thing also that needs to be understood. This game is more of an offense game than a defense game. So offense it will always be offense heavy, and that's how Scopely wants it, and that's something I accept, and I'm fine with it. Because the last thing I want is someone starting off, playing this game, or someone that's been playing it for a while. They go through six of their raid energy, and out of the six, four of them end up being losses because it's too hard to go against people. There is a it's there it's hard to beat someone's defense. I don't want that. I'm good. I'm okay with the way things are now, and that's something that I accept whenever I turn on the game and I see defeats. I'm okay with it because I know how this game flows. The programmers, I doubt they could ever emulate and the way an actual human being makes decisions, what how someone plays with when they're on offense, because there's so many different factors in how someone plays. So you have it's hard to emulate how someone can decide who they're going to use command on, which card they're going to use command on, who, when, if, whether or not they're going to wait until the next turn before they use the heal, when they're going to, you know, decide to shield and when not to shield, who to hit and who not to hit, who, it's way too difficult for someone to be, I guess, to program something like that. you know they just do what, they do the best they can. And the way defense behaves, I'm fine with the way it does. And one thing I've always accepted before all this is that I don't think there's ever a team that's unbeatable. I think any team, no matter how good their cards are, they are defeatable. It's just this is a puzzle. You know, as soon as you figure out that puzzle, you'll be able to defeat that team. It may not be the first time. It might be a challenge the first time, but eventually, once you figure out, okay, I don't hit this card, I gotta hit that card first. You know what? I have to be able to bring a card that will do that buff, so I can get more power to kill that card first. Or You know what? I need to bring command with me, or I need to bring a splash damager instead of bringing single target cards. Basically, what once you figure out how to defeat a team, it's it becomes the challenge. It becomes less challenging, and like I mentioned, Scopely wants this game to be more, I guess, offense oriented, and that's perfectly fine because the way it is now, it's enjoyable. It's enjoyable at the same time. Once in a while, you do face a challenge. When you go against certain teams, and that's cool because when there's a challenge, that's when it's fun. When there's no challenge and it's easy, that's when the challenge is. That's when basically when you're ready to move on to a next game because the game will be just way too simple and way too easy. But let's we're talking about defense and how to set it up. But I talked about all this first before we get into setting it up because I don't want anybody to think that once you set up a defense that it's going to be unbeatable. You are going to face defeats, but this will be, if anything, this will help lessen it. If anything, help you get a few defense, maybe at the same time, make you kind of understand the game more and understand why when you face certain teams, why it's challenging to go against them, and why certain people set up the teams the way they set it up. So let's go ahead and get started, and we're gonna go make a team right now, just a basic team. I'm gonna make a yellow team. Of course, I'm a fan of fast, so we're gonna set up a basic yellow team right now, and the way I would set up the way I would, every time someone asks me how to set up a team, I always tell them to set up a 2-3 or a 3-2. And what I mean by that is, if I'm going to go with yellow, if my strong cards are, if I have two strong yellows or, two or three strong yellows, I would set up, the one, you set up the leader, then you set up, you add another card. And out of the 2-3 or 3-2, my favorite is the 2-3. And the 2-3 would be like this. You got your two yellows. Next thing you're going to do, you're going to add 3 reds. And that would be a basic defense team right here. A 2-3 defense team. Obviously, if you're going to set up a 3-2, it would be 3 yellows and 2 reds. But like I said, my favorite setup is usually 2-3. Now, the reason for this type of setup is because when someone searches for a raid, your leader will pop up. They'll see your leader. Now, when someone's usually playing offense, they usually bring like all yellow, or all the same traits, or a majority of the same traits, because a lot of leader skills out there, they're more, the same trait leader skills. So like if I see a Andrea team, I know that a majority of their cards will be blues. But let's get back on this and why I set this up. When someone searches for your searches and they see your card, your team, they'll see the yellow, so they'll automatically assume you have some yellows on your team, so they're gonna bring green. They're gonna bring the green a green team, or a majority of green, to take out the yellows. Now when they face your team, they'll end up seeing that you only have 2 yellows and you have 3 reds. And the reason why you have those reds is to protect those yellows. If anything, try to take out those greens that player brought with them. And that's what they're there for, is to protect these yellows and to take out those greens. While, like I said, the yellows you did bring, you want to bring your strongest yellows. And yellow right now, it's just an example. I mean, we could go like green. If I decide to go green, let's see. And I'm not, I wouldn't raid or set him up as a raid leader, to do raids. But it is just an example. We're just gonna ignore the card, and we're gonna go look. We're just going by traits. So I would set up a green team. With the green, I would set it up like this: a three, a 2-3. So when someone searches, they see my green, they'll bring red. They'll bring red alerts with them. And when they face my team, they'll see the 2 greens, but they'll have to face the 3 blues that I have, just 3 strong blues. So in the end, this is a basic team setup. It's you have your 2 strong cards. At the same time, you have 3 other strong cards that will be there to protect those 2, the 2 that you have, that you brought with you in the 2-3 setup. Now, depending on how strong your cards are, will kind of determine the 2-3 or 3-2. Obviously, if you have more stronger cards on yellow, you'll bring 3 yellows and you'll bring 2 reds. And if you have stronger red cards than you do yellow, then you'd bring the more reds than yellow. I hope this isn't confusing anyone, but this is a basic defense team. You always want to have cards to be able to take out the cards that are there, or the cards someone brings to try to take out the cards they see on the cover. And this is more of a, I guess, trapping someone, or I don't. I'm trying to come up with the word and how to describe it. It's like what I think yesterday when I was raiding, I saw Michonne. I was like, okay, Michonne's there. Let me bring reds. And as soon as I found, as soon as I entered the match, it was, I believe, Michonne and Green Jesus, and then there was 2 Andreas and a Cooper. And I had, red team. And it was very challenging. It was very challenging. And that's the thing you want to do is by setting up a team like this. You don't want them to get an easy win. If anything, maybe get a defense. But if anything, you want it to be challenging for the other team or the player that's trying to attack your team. So, yeah, this is, like I said, this is just the basic team setup. Now, one of the reasons why you don't want to set an all trait, like a lot of times I end up facing, here where we'll set, I face a team like this, and it'll be all blues. And that's the thing. This person, I can guarantee, this person, they set up this team mainly because of how they perform on offense. Now, that's the thing you don't want to make the mistake of. Offense and defense are not the same. It won't ever be the same. It's just, it doesn't. The way this game works, that's not how defending works. Because you just like I mentioned before about my yellow team, my fast team. A lot of times I could run through teams beat regardless of what trait. Most of the time I come out on top with my yellow team. But if you ever to ask me, do I ever set them up for defense? Oh no, heck no! I would never set them up for defense because I know they would be eaten alive. And then this one right here would be an example. This team would probably be able to take out other teams with no problem on offense. But when it comes to defense, you don't ever want to set up an all one trait team, because The reason why is because, like we mentioned before, one trait will always be weaker to to another trait. And if you ever face a team that's all blues, you know, if I ever face, if I do a search on the raids and I find a, like Andre, every time I see an Andre team, I always bring all yellows. I'm always bringing all yellows. Well, I bring Green Jesus with me mainly for the commands because there's no yellow command specialist. But I will bring a majority of yellows to because I know that regardless of who they have, I'll be able to take out that team because for some reason a lot of people like to set up all blues, all tops. But my whole thing that I'm mentioning here is one thing to improve. You have to separate offense and defense. What works for you on offense will not a majority of time won't work on defense for you. That's why you see a lot during war. It's so you'll see other people have a difficult time defending because they're using their offense team. That they're setting up their defense team, their offense team as defense, and that's why their camp gets destroyed so quickly because they're not the same. You set up a defense team, it's gonna be something, like I mentioned before, a 2-3 or a 3-2. That's how I would set it up. Now there are times where you don't necessarily have to do the 2-3 or 3-2, and that's all depends on certain cards, leader skills. There are certain cards there that will provide a good leader skill for both, I guess two traits of the same type of cards, like the melee cards. Morgan, for example, his leader skill is a pretty good leader skill, and it provides having both green and yellow benefit from it. So you can set up teams that don't really follow that 2-3, but at the same time it depends on the leader skill of the your leader card. And like for range, for example, when you see face teams with the Wanderer as lead, and this is possible mainly because the leader skill is very good. So yeah, that's the only I guess exception I would say, as far as if you decide to set up teams, different type of teams. Now I'm pretty sure a lot of people have heard of like rainbow teams. Rainbow teams are basically a mixed combination of different types of traits, and I'm not really much of a fan of that. I don't really like those type of teams. Perfect example of a rainbow team leader would be like this Joshua. Basically all leader skills that you see that has that all teammates, that's a rainbow leader. And the reason why they call it rainbow is because it can be mixed up, and all these cards benefit from that leader skill. The only thing though, they don't really benefit on defense. The reason why they don't benefit on defense is because one card will never, remember how one trait is weaker to the other? So let's say, for example, somebody decided to bring all green to go against this team because they saw that Joshua was yellow. Now, if they brought all green, with them, only one card out of this whole defense team is, will be able to, I guess, is strong against that green team, and that's Carl. And one card is not going to be able to take out a whole team of green. So basically, if someone brings a all green team to go against this one, they will be able to take out. They'll be strong against Joshua, strong against Gator, Yeah, Gator. I don't know even know why I put him in here. They'll be strong against two cards. The only one that's I guess they're weak to would be Carl. At the same time, Michonne and Andrea, it's like doesn't make a difference. They're not weak or strong against those two. So basically, this team is not the best setup for. You want to be able to have multiple cards to be able to defend or kill, you know, whatever team that other person brings to go against your defense team. And like I said, a majority of time when someone searches for a raid and they see yellow, they're gonna bring green. If they see red, they're gonna bring blue. If they see green, they're gonna bring red. If they see blue, they're gonna bring yellow. That's just how it works, And what you want to do is you always want to put some cards in your team to anticipate that. So yeah, that's a basic team setup. Now, one thing to know also, once you get into the high ranks, or when you start facing people that are have nothing but maxed out 5 stars, I guess all this defense stuff, all this 2-3, 3-2 mumbo jumbo, if you want to call it that, is pretty much thrown out the window. Because when there's strong cards, very strong cards, it really doesn't matter anymore. Because like I say, I'll use this as an example. Like with my fast team, my fast team is weak against green, but there are times where, since my team synergy of my fast team is real good, there's times I'm able to survive or not, maybe lose one card or maybe two cards going against a full team of greens. And it's not because, and it shouldn't be like that, because my, yellow's supposed to be weak to green. But like I said, some of it depends on how strong your cards are. Okay, yeah, but that's a basic team setup. For people that are starting off, and like I said, that last bit that I mentioned about when you're facing strong 5 stars or strong, maxed out five, that's down the line. If you're starting up here, I doubt that you're gonna be facing that many full teams of Andreas or 2 shields at the same time or 5 Herschels in one team. But yeah, I guess that's all I wanted to say about this. Say in this video, it's just basic, and it's for the new guys. People just starting off. Help them figure out how to just set up a basic team, and after you play for a while, this game, like I said, it gets easier. And like I said, don't if you end up going against somebody in a raid and you have a difficult time beating them, just you'll eventually figure out the patterns, the puzzle. Because for a time like that Morgan and Tyrese team, it was difficult to face back then. It was just nobody. They were unbeatable. Same thing with the Andrea teams with Lee's. That was difficult back then too. But eventually people figure out. I don't think I ever lose to those teams anymore. And that's only because, like I said, when you first face those type of teams, you're still learning, and you're gonna make mistakes the first time, first couple times, but eventually you'll figure out that puzzle and it'll be easier for you. But yeah, defense, just don't forget, this is an offense heavy game and defense is very difficult. So if you do see defeats, that's fine. You'll always be able to make up that rep. No big deal. But that's all I got for this video. And before I go though, man, I'm pretty sure you guys seen this already. This thing popped up in the message in my inbox, and they showed Shiva, and I was like, oh crap, Shiva's in the Premier Recruits. No, it's just a roadmap. It's a roadmap, and it looks pretty good. You know, I guess you get a chance for elite gear and ultra gear. You know, but you know you have a high chance of this. Yeah, high chance of that. High chance of this, and a rare chance of that. But I'm gonna go ahead and do this. You know, this looks pretty cool. I'm glad they put up another one like this. I think the last time they put this up was put up something similar to this. It was when that new Maribel. I remember they let you use Maribel, and this one there actually I did one stage and they let you use Shiva. So who knows? Maybe there'll be a ×2 Shiva this weekend. And here, oh man, I guess I'm gonna be doing a big pack this coming up weekend if that's true. But yeah, that's all I got for this video. I hope you guys enjoyed it somewhat, and I hope the new guys that are watching this, hey, just you know, like I said, this is just some advice. You don't really have to follow it, and but you can give it a try, see whether it works and it helps you out, and if it does, cool. But like I said, you gotta always try something. You always have to, you know, if one thing's not working, try another thing. But yeah, I'll see you guys later, and have a good night.